Hear it say it. Perfect. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is the second bylaw amendment town hall. First, we're going to start off. Just welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. These bylaw amendments are very important when we're discussing the future of Circle K International. So we appreciate you being here, being curious and asking questions and taking part in these discussions. So first off, since it is a holiday in the United States today, I'm going to let Katie kick it off with an acknowledgement of Juneteenth.
Thank you, Zach. And yes, before we begin the town hall today, we would like to take a moment to recognize today as Juneteenth, which is a federal holiday in the United States. It's the day in 1865 when enslaved people in Galveston, Texas finally learned that the United States had abolished slavery, a more than 2 year delay that compounded centuries of bondage with tragedy. It is also a celebration of the miraculous perseverance and resilience of the descendants of the enslaved. On Juneteenth, we think of Black Americans who descended from enslaved people who live today with wrongs that we as a country know, in many cases, how to set right. As CKI members, we must continue to advocate for inclusion and justice for historically marginalized communities, both in the United States and across the globe. In the United States, Juneteenth is a time for reflection, education, and action. Reflecting on Juneteenth's meaning and lessons for today, we must recommit to the work that still lies ahead in our pursuit of a more just and inclusive world. For everyone joining from the US, thank you for being here on a holiday, and thank you to everyone else for being here as well.
Thanks, Katie. And yeah, to everyone in the US, thank you for being here on a holiday. We're going to go ahead and get started with the meeting. So, first off, I'm just going to run through what we're going through tonight. We're going to give a quick overview of the amendments, just like we did at the first town hall. And then we will be opening up the floor to questions, whether they were submitted before or you sign up to speak during this call. Folks will be given the opportunity to speak and ask questions, and we also have the Q&A function in the chat. So feel free to send questions in, and we'll be answering those as they come in. The International Board, since we together collectively put together those amendments, will all be helping to answer those questions. So the International Trustees, Vice President Katie and myself will all be answering those questions. So after that, we're going to go into some breakout rooms. So you all have the opportunity to ask questions in a smaller setting. And so you all have the opportunity to ask anything that you need to. So we'll go ahead and get started on the discussion of the amendments. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen while we run through these. Let's see. All right, can you all see that? All right, perfect. So the First Amendment that we have is meant to simplify the chartering process for multiple school clubs. So we're putting multiple school clubs, non-traditional and e-clubs into one amendment. The purpose of this is really just to simplify the coding in the bylaws and make sure that we're being consistent in how we create clubs and what our clubs look like. Pretty straightforward amendment, basically just getting rid of some lines in the bylaws and also combining some to make it more streamlined. Next part of the bylaws, and again, I'm going to run through these pretty quickly. You all do have access to the amendments. If you look up Circle K International Delegate Packet, they are all there, so you can read them on your own time as well if you have further questions or want to read the exact line by line wording of it. But for now, we're just going to go through pretty quickly. So next thing, we are providing further clarity to provisional status by moving district status. So districts will move from district to provisional status after 3 consecutive years, and the provisional districts will move back up to district status once they reach 5 clubs in good standing, which means 5 clubs of 10 members or more for 5,000 or less members, or clubs of 15 members or more for schools that have 5,000 or more students. So the reasoning for this, we had some There were some issues with provisional this year, and what exactly it should look like when districts are getting back up from provisional to district status. So we wanted to make this a lot simpler. Once you reach that number, you move up. And the 3 consecutive years is so we're shortening that process. We've seen a lot of success with provisional this year. Those districts that are struggling get a lot of extra support through provisional, and we're working on adding extra support as we work our way into the next service year. So the reason we're cutting it down is because the average time that folks are in school is usually 4 or 5 years. So by that time, that 7 year timeline of 5 years in provisional, 2 years not 2 years, or 5 years district status, 2 years in provisional, we're getting very far past what one student's or a group of students' impact might be. So we want to make sure that all students from CKI are getting a great experience, and that we are making sure that districts are in good standing and our members get to interact with as many schools and districts as possible. Next part is a pretty straightforward one. It's just removing regions from the bylaws. They really haven't been used in several years. We had subregions about 7 years ago, but regions themselves have really not had a purpose, but they're still standing in the bylaws. So they're just being removed. It's just an antiquated term that we don't use within CKI. Then after that, we have an update to the number of international trustees. So the total number of international trustees will be based on the membership number from the previous year as of February 1st. And this is based on the fact that we have had declining membership over the last several years. And in order to help reduce costs and help have our international board better reflect the numbers of our membership, we decided to propose this bylaw. So the numbers you can see below for where we'd have 3, 5, and 7 international trustees. We decided on February 1st based on how much it represents CKI's membership. Compared to April 1st would make it pretty difficult to have that turnaround and pretty difficult to know when running for trustee, especially at district conventions, how many positions you're running for. So we just want that to be as transparent of a process as possible for our candidates that are running. And we want to make sure that we know that the candidates know going into running for trustee that they will be running for 3, 5, or 7 positions, depending on the number of members we get. And then the last one is the proposal to raise the dues. So this is based on a tier list. So our proposal is $8 followed by $4 followed by $8, and these numbers would be reduced depending on how many members we get within our organization. So these provisos here show what would happen if we hit certain membership thresholds. So it's kind of an incentive, not kind of, it is an incentive to raise membership numbers, because ultimately there's 2 ways that we can get the money that we need to get out of a deficit. And that's by either increasing our membership numbers or increasing dues. And based on the fact that our membership numbers have declined over the last few years, we need to raise dues to make sure that we're able to function as an organization and that we're able to hopefully start getting out of a deficit. So now I'm going to share one more thing. I'm just going to share a little bit. I'm going to share the graphs for the dues proposal. So this is what our budget looks like. As you can see here, we rely heavily on a Kiwanis subsidy. You can read this, and again, this is available on the Circle K International website. We can direct you to where that is. But the big thing here is that we rely heavily on this Kiwanis subsidy. And additionally, we have a major deficit. So this deficit is at a membership total of 8,500 members. And we currently are sitting about 50 members short of 6,000 members. So our deficit looks a lot worse than it does on this chart. This is just the budget at the beginning of the year. So that's really one of the major reasons why we need to raise the dues for CKI and why to make sure that our organization is healthy, functioning, and sustainable into the future, and to make sure that we have the resources to provide our members with a great experience, that we need to raise the international dues. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, um, and we are going to get into some of the questions. So we had a couple pre-submitted questions. Um, so I'm going to let Katie read off the first one.
So the first question that we received is from Hassan, and Hassan asks, why are dues and adjustments not taking into account the disproportionate burden that dues put onto international clubs?
So I can answer that at this point, and you can let me know if you need any further clarification. With dues, there is a tier system put in place based on our world GDP rankings, giving countries with gross incomes, which is a lot of our international clubs, a lower price for our international dues. That's something that we currently have and something that we will continue to implement with the new dues amendment, whatever that may be. Clubs that are not in the US, Canada, or Caribbean will fall into our Global Development Committee or whatever that may look like next year, but is likely a staple to stay. And that will aid in continued support of those clubs in education and different strategies to pay dues. They listen from those clubs and they bring that responses back to the I-Board, and we make decisions with them based on that. Additionally, we are also ensuring that future member benefits and partnerships are directly aligned with what we are, and that is international. So we want to make sure that all of our international clubs are getting more out of their dues. We actually just recently denied a partnership because the group was not going to go international fully, and we felt that that wouldn't serve our membership to the best that it could be.
Awesome. Thanks, Dee. Does anyone else from the board have anything to input to help answer that question? And a reminder to use the question and answer feature. Katie just dropped that in the chat. But for these questions, we're answering whatever you want us to answer. So feel free to drop them and we will go ahead and answer them. But that was the only question that was submitted beforehand. We didn't have obviously many submissions this time. Um, yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and since it's not looking like we're getting any other questions right now, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next portion. We had one member that wanted to speak, so we're going to give him the opportunity to do so. Mason from Florida. I'm not sure if he is here. Mason Kaufman.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
All right. Awesome. Mason, you'll get 2 minutes to speak, and then we'll help to answer those questions. And then you'll get a 1 minute chance after that to ask any further questions or get further clarification.
Okay, perfect. Sounds great.
I'll raise my hand when you have a minute left and then come off mute when it hits 2 minutes. So you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, perfect. Um, so I feel like the point of a town hall is that we're supposed to have a communal discussion about what the best decision is to make. And when I look at these amendments, I understand that we need a dues increase, but I just don't see that. For the future of this organization, we are built on our members, and I feel like I don't see how we can add this dues increase and not add anything else. I understand that we have scholarships. We have 3 scholarships. They barely go to anybody, the actual CKI members. We just don't have enough benefits for our members to warrant such a large dues increase. What am I supposed to tell my clubs in my division when they're asking me why we have this increase when there's nothing else to show for it? We used to, back in the day, we used to have at least like textbook benefits for CKI members so students could help get cheaper textbooks at school, but we don't have anything like that anymore. And there's just not a lot of benefits that I really see from this. I understand we need one, but I just need to see more out of the international board to help ease this pain if it's going to be this big of a burden on us. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, thank you, Mason. Um, and I'll go ahead and try to answer that question. But the big thing here, we are doing our best to provide a member experience that's great for all our members. We're exploring a number of different avenues for how that happens, getting feedback from governors, getting feedback from general members. Um, the ultimate thing is with the dues increase, we're exploring other options for how we can do more with our membership as well. I'd encourage you also to explore a lot of what we have on the website as well. I know it's not necessarily tangible benefits, but those resources on the website, especially if you look in that search bar, um, a lot of helpful resources, especially when it comes to chartering, making presentations, doing all sorts of things when it comes to functioning as a club. Um, Lots of helpful things on there. Um, but also, I encourage you to promote those intangible benefits that we have as an organization. A big part of it, and I think a lot of us on this call are very passionate about our organization. These intangible opportunities that we have as a club, the folks that we meet, the people that we interact with, the fact that I'm sitting here on a call with people from countries from all around the world, sitting here with you're from Florida, Mason, um, that there's very little chance that we ever would have interacted before this. So uh, just helping to promote that and sell that to members, and really talking about those intangible benefits is a great thing. And as we're looking into the new year, we're going to be looking into different ways that we can also provide more tangible member benefits. Looking into new communication systems, looking into potentially an internship working with Kiwanis and CKI, and looking into bolstering those scholarship opportunities. I know there's only a few right now, but with the increasing dues and hopefully getting out of a deficit, that's something that we'd be looking to do and looking to increase those member benefits. Um, Over the last few years, we have cut $176,000 from our budget. So our budget is almost been sliced in half. Pretty big decline there. So a lot of those benefits that you're talking about had been cut because we just simply don't have the funds to do it, and we don't have the members to raise those funds to do it as well. Hopefully that answers your question. I know member experience and working on those benefits is a top priority for the board, and it's definitely something that we want to look at moving forward and
Yeah,
always
and
are considering.
sorry, Zach. And there are some other member benefits that definitely some of our members don't know about or have the most access to, that we definitely need to work on educating more. The GLC Global Leadership Certificate is definitely an amazing member benefit that a lot of people have not worked with yet. And with that, if you've never heard of it, it is an amazing platform that gives you different trainings and resources. And also a newer program that has been brought back since COVID time is Next Up training program that will be occurring at the beginning of Icon. Many people that I see on this call actually attended Next Up last year and are doing different things in the organization and developing their skills as a leader from being able to attend that group. With it, over 40 members were trained last year, and even more will be trained this year. There's also different webinars and global partners. And the most important thing with it is being able to have member benefits and be able to keep things going is not sustainable or not an ability to have if the deficit is not resolved. There is a no way for us to continue doing things with this high of a deficit. So that is the most important thing to also keep in matter. And then also with the scholarships, we do have some scholarship winners on the call. There's two that I see right now on my screen that just won scholarships this year. So those scholarships, and I know somebody who won one last year that was a club president. And so they do go out to general people with it in Circle K, and they're a very important resource. So definitely making sure that we are broadcasting and talking about some of those benefits more to our members, and also working on to improve and bring more things after we get out of that deficit.
I get a chance for rebuttal, right? So I just want to know how you think about this, because the way I see it, the dues increase is going to absolutely like hurt our membership a lot, especially in our smaller schools. There's a chance it could completely just extinguish some clubs, especially when we don't have any benefits right now to show for it. I just want to know if you guys think that that's going to really help you get out of this deficit if we're increasing the dues by so much and yet we're not providing any benefits to members. What's going to stop a student that wants to even volunteer from just choosing another volunteer organization that doesn't have these international dues that really hurt us?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so all
go ahead,
those
Anna.
benefits that I just listed are active benefits that we do have right now. The GLC Global Leadership Certificate, next up, being able to attend international convention, having town halls like this, being able to have trustees coming to conventions, and also being able to have different accesses, like all the resources on the website. Those are all active member benefits. So we do have active member benefits going right now. Yes, we are in the process of adding more and working on it. We are even right now actively looking at and researching as a board to make sure that the benefits that we are looking into and the programs that we're looking at are making sure that they're inclusive to everybody. We're also looking at trying to add mentorship programs and internships and things like that. But there is existing member benefits going on right now, and those member benefits. Also, the alumni network. How many people here are on the alumni network or have used it? That is an amazing resource that we have there that I feel like a lot of people, most of those things we've been talking about are just not being utilized mostly by people yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely something that we have a lot of those things, opportunities with global partners like UNICEF. We have ambassadors that are given some pretty cool opportunities to sit on meetings and have an impact on that organization that otherwise wouldn't exist. And additionally, like Hannah just mentioned, the alumni network, we're bolstering that to hopefully add some job opportunities. And then the next hopefully by the fall. We're testing out those new features right now. So we're expanding on that and doing our best to make sure that the CKI members feel that it's a valuable experience. And we also do recognize that we can also do a better job promoting those resources that we have and promoting what we already do have to our CKI members. If that's definitely something that we as an international board can do a lot better on, and making sure that those resources are readily available and we know about those benefits as much as possible.
I'll also just add something exciting. We're getting really close to the launch of our CKI mentorship program through our alumni network. And I do want to shout out Madison because we worked together on this when we were on the Alumni and Kiwanis Family Relations Committee like last year. So we're really excited to be launching that as a new member benefit. And we're looking forward to having that open in this coming year for you all. So I also would encourage you, Mason, if you have other ideas on member benefits, please reach out to us because this is all about you all as members, and we want to make sure that anything that you have, you're being heard on the international level. So thank you so much for all those points. And we're going to move on to our next question, which is from Kyle. And he says, we are a district considering increasing dues at the district level to assist with our own finances. We have been operating in a deficit since 2017, 2018. What support will International provide in that aspect with a dues increase at both the international and district levels?
I can start by answering this and see if that will be beneficial. But mainly, definitely, the international board would be available to support districts and clubs in any way that we can, especially amidst a potential dues increase at the international level and for any dues increase at the district level. The 2024 and 2025 board will definitely work to have conversations with district leadership and have personal one-on-ones with clubs or districts that may request ideas to learn how to best fundraise for to potentially offset the dues increases. We will also try to identify ways that we can create resources and to expand upon our current resources to see if we can provide more information, such as ideas for ways to partner with local restaurants to have fundraisers, to have different events at some of your service projects or other events that can raise funds, like fundraisers, along with guides to reach out to sponsor and Kiwanis clubs or student governments to see if they can provide any support that may offset a dues increase. I will definitely be available to help provide any resources and have conversations. And we can also connect folks to other clubs and districts that have had successful fundraisers to see how that might help with overall reducing a potential dues increase and offsetting some of those costs to make sure that we can all have productive clubs and districts despite any dues increase.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. Our next question comes from Landon, and he asks, what advice or tips would you have for us to increase membership numbers?
Yeah, I can take this one, although I would love for anyone else to jump in after me. This is a loaded question. This gets at our main problem. This is the reason we are even looking to increase dues is because our membership is down. And, the truth of the matter is that the reason people join CKI is, from what I've learned, different for every single member. So it's very difficult for me to answer this for everyone. I can answer it for myself, and I can answer it for things that I've seen work in my home district and across some clubs in the districts I've overseen this year. The reason I joined CKI my freshman year was not for the community service, was not even for the fellowship. It was for a leadership role that I was offered. We were coming out of the pandemic. There was a vacancy on the district board, and quite frankly, I needed something on my resume coming into college because I was applying to a business school at UNC, and they wanted a leadership role. Not necessarily the best or most genuine reason to join a community service organization, I'll admit. The reason I've stayed, of course, is because I've fallen in love with the people, right? That fellowship tenet. I've fallen in love with the service, the fact that we have the ability to reach not just our home communities, our districts, the country, but quite literally the world with our international service partnerships. Those are the reasons that I've stayed. But the reason I came in the door in the first place was our leadership tenet. For some of you in here, the reason you came in the door is the service tenet. For some of you, it's the fellowship tenet. And so finding ways to appeal to the needs of specific prospective members is very, very important, right? Understanding what someone wants before you try to sell the organization to them, instead of just word vomiting at a tabling event and telling them everything that CKI does. That's the difficult part. Now, through my personal experience, my leadership experience, I helped launch the first-year ambassador position on International this year. That is hopefully meant to appeal to people like me who are looking for leadership roles coming into their first year. For more information on that, you can feel free to reach out to me, anyone on the International board, and there is a resource on the resources page, the member benefit resources page. Please have a look at that. For others, you may want to promote the fellowship tenet. For others, you may want to promote the service tenet. So really understanding what prospective members want, and then selling CKI in that light, which is not easy, but it's the route that I believe we need to go. And if anyone wants to add on to that, feel free.
And I know along with the different tenants, CKI has a lot of different opportunities to offer. So I recommend tailoring kind of each CKI experience uniquely to the members. So if certain members want certain volunteer experiences that align more with their jobs, or they want certain volunteer experiences that are, more one aspect, I would definitely encourage them to look into those areas or kind of help them come up with different service projects that align with what they want to do or different opportunities. Just create kind of individual experiences that everyone can get kind of what they want out of the organization. And that's something that we bring up a lot at our tabling events for my home club. I know a lot of times we ask for like what their major is, what their interests are, what they're looking to get out of a club, and we kind of tie those back into things that we do in our specific club to kind of show them that what they want out of an organization they can get in CKI. And also something that we always say in my district is that people might come for service, but they stay for the friends that they made. Fellowship is a big aspect of CKI, and I definitely recommend including bonding experiences or anything in like all aspects of CKI, because people want to make those connections and they'll stay because their friends are there and they want to see their friends again at each meeting and whatnot. But I definitely recommend kind of creating those fellowship experiences. And then making sure that you're really focusing on fundraising. I know Dave talked a little bit about this, but I think that also helps kind of offset any dues concerns that individual members have. So making sure that you're really looking to fundraising opportunities or opportunities on campus that can kind of help offset those for members.
I also want to add, like, we could talk about this all day. Like, there's so many tips and tricks to recruitment and retention. And just for the sake of time, like, there was a workshop that I worked on last year when I was serving as lieutenant governor. And just over the course of my time in CKI and just talking to other people and just gaining like tips and tricks on how to recruit and retain members, I actually created a recruitment and retention workshop. So anyways, that's on the international website. You can go under our resources and literally just type in recruitment and retention workshop, and it's in there. There's so many great tips and tricks in there as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Landon. Next, Jose Mendez from Florida has asked to speak, so he'll be given 2 minutes to do so. And same thing, you'll be given 1 minute after to ask any additional supporting questions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I want to touch upon some things that I think, at least myself, I have issues with. And if you were on the last town hall, I brought it up then. So I think it's important that I voice these concerns as well. I'll start with dues since that's what we're talking about. As the Florida the Governor District, I myself have concerns with the dues increase. And I think one of the things is while we talk about the amazing benefits, we as an organization can't deny that even those benefits are getting reductions. Next up, for example, is only a half-day program. I mean, you get in the night before and the convention starts, and then you've got the morning, so to speak, of it going on. So there's a significant reduction in that even members from my district didn't want to be nominated for because they didn't see a benefit. The Tomorrow Fund, which is supposed to provide funding for clubs, has seen a reduction in how much funding overall since the last few years. We've seen a lot of reductions in what our benefits are, even with the ones we still have. And even then, those are larger abstract ideas that usually we only understand once we're in it. It's how do we sell it to the people we're trying to get in? And I think that's where we see a lot of the misunderstanding and a lot of concerns with people that the sticker shock is going to scare them. But there's also issues when we talk about provisional districts. I have no issue with moving it to 3 years, but once you put a district in provisional, they have now 2 years to figure it out. Starting the clock in July after Icon and giving them 2 years, that's a cause for concern. A lot of them will go disbanded. And trustees, if we know usually by April 1st, we have 5,000 members always. Mr. President, you and I have had that conversation. Why don't we have the date be April 1st? Because we know we always hit 5,000 and can have then 5 trustees. I think there's some issues that a lot of us have and look forward to debating them at Icon. And I just wanted to point those out for the members. Thank you.
Thanks, Jose. Did you have any questions that you wanted to ask us as well?
No, that's just my public comment. No need for responding to that. If any of you would like to, of course, I'd love to engage in dialogue, but no real questions, just public comment. Thank you, though.
I mean, I can, I guess, look to respond, and then Jose, of course, you have that 1 minute after as well. First of all, I really appreciate you voicing your concerns. I get it, right? And I said this in the last town hall meeting as well. None of these amendments are perfect. And that's just the unfortunate truth. When you look at an organization, and Zach, feel free to pull up that graphic of the dues chart. When you look at an organization that relies on quite literally $191,000 subsidy each year, which by the way goes strictly to staff salaries, and that's not the subsidy or that the portion of our budget that we are needing to cover. And in addition to that, a budgeted $45,000 deficit, which is based on an 8,500 budgeted membership. Our membership this year is actually going to be below 6,000. The solutions are not perfect, right? And so to your point about there have been reductions in, current member benefits as well. There have, and that's been because our membership has been consistently low and decreasing over the past few years. If you look at the FAQ document, there's a question on there that talks about how much we've reduced our budget over the past however many years. It's over $170,000. These are big numbers, and it's very hard to justify running a club, an organization, a business, any type of entity at this level of a deficit. And so, again, we hear you, Jose. We hear everyone who shares your sentiment. Understand that the board is also CKI members who will have to pay these additional dues if this passes, who will have access to less trustees if this passes, who will be working with districts in provisional if that passes as well. These are things that we will have to deal with as well. A lot of us have been governors before, but what we have worked out this year is that because of years of inaction, we need to take action this year. And that's the unfortunate truth. So none of these amendments are going to be perfect. They're all going to have their flaws, and we hear you, we understand you. But I'm saying from the seat that we have looked at those alternatives, and we have simply decided that they are no longer a solution. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents on it. If anyone else wants to add, go feel free. And then, Jose, if you want to respond, please do.
Yeah, great. I can take over for you. Yeah, we do know this is a very hard matter to talk about, and we do appreciate you all coming on here and speaking with us. As far as the trustee date, the hard thing with April 1st is for candidates that want to get district endorsement from their district House of Delegates. If we were to release after that time how many trustees would be going, many of the people would already be seeking endorsement. That is way past the deadline. And with it, we feel like it is fair for all future candidates to know how many trustees there is going to be before they go out there to run. For some people, the numbers or just knowing can help decrease anxiety. And it's just a big stress going into something like that. And so with it, it is just a very late time to do it after April 1st. Also with Next Up, the decreasing of it down to just the 1 day was to help decrease budgets. Like Pri was saying, we have been cutting funds a lot, but there is also going to be Next Up Next Up workshops that will be occurring during the convention. So some of the workshops that will be offered on the day, so especially on 4th of July, are going to be the ones that would be offered during Next Up. And the great thing with this will be is that everybody coming to Icon will be able to attend those. So those are great ways to be able to learn about leadership opportunities and also being able to learn more about it. As trustees, this has definitely been something, and as a whole board, Katie, Zach, all of us, this has been something that has been very hard to come to, and we really do appreciate everybody expressing your concerns about things. We are here to help and support, even us of those that will be graduating and going to Kiwanis or next steps. We want to be able to help make this impactful and to also be able to keep this organization going. For many of us, this organization has given us so much and has been an amazing outlet and experience in our 4 years that the main priority we want to do is just make sure CKI exists. If CKI didn't exist, I can't imagine how things would be. And I want to make sure that everybody going to college has those opportunities. So we want to do everything, be able to help the next board to be able to make the, be able to have new resources, be able to fundraising, everything with that. So thank you for listening and just reach out to us if you guys need anything.
Am I allowed to respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Jose.
Thank you. A few different points, kind of working backwards. I want CKI to exist too. That's the whole reason I'm talking. I mean, a lot of the concerns I've heard, but speaking for my own, is I recognize a dues increase. We all just want it a little easier and a little less. And that's one of the things that a few of us say is a dues increase should be just a little bit less, or should recognize the difficulties that districts are going to have. Because we may want it to exist, but if we have no members, we ain't going to exist either. Also, talking about trustee reductions. You run because you want the job, not because of how many positions there are. And just because you seek endorsement doesn't mean you have to go through with it. You could know, okay, April 1st, we've got about 5,000. That's cool, but I'm going to seek endorsement just in case. I don't got to put in for it. It's usually not due until after April 1st. So you have that opportunity, and you run because you want the job, because you want to be the trustee, not because there's 3, 5, or 7. And when we're dealing with dues, I mean, we're talking about an existential crisis, obviously, but we're also recognizing that a lot of us recognize what we have to do, but are also putting in the voice to make it known that at Icon, we just want it to be a little easier. And I know, at least myself, will be trying to use that opportunity. And I want to thank the board for allowing the remarks for me to allow my 2 cents. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jose. Yeah, and we do appreciate you voicing your concerns and asking the questions that we definitely want to be discussing about these amendments. Um, when it comes to just for a little bit of background for the trustee amendment, was that that was something that we had come to. Um, no, the candidates knowing how many trustees are going to be running was something that we came to after discussing it at the Governor Administrator Training Conference. After having that discussion that you were a part of there, we just wanted to make sure it's fair and wanted to make sure that the candidates have as much information as they can when they're running for the position. Totally agree with you. If someone wants to run for the position, I think they definitely should run for the position regardless. But um, it's definitely it's definitely a tricky thing. Elections are a very stressful process, and I think we can recognize that in the fact that uh, yeah, stress elections are stressful. The more information candidates can have, the better for sure.
Zach, I'm sorry, I know I'm past my time, but I just want to say something for the Gatsby conversation that is a little taken out of context. And that was a conversation we had, but it was a conversation of a reduction trustee this year, not for the following years going forward. I just want to make that known that that's why we're having the conversation in that context of a trustee reduction taking place this year, which obviously didn't.
Yeah, thanks, Jose. Awesome. Next thing, since it doesn't look like we have any more questions in the chat, and no one else has submitted questions, we're going to give an opportunity to go into breakout rooms. So you can get in the breakout rooms with your international trustee. There will be 2 international trustees per room, and then staff, Katie and I will be hopping around to some of the rooms. But go ahead and hop in the room with your international trustee. Once Sam gets them set up, she needs a second to set them up. But if you need help or don't know who your international trustee is, we can help you out with that. So feel free to message us if you don't know. And we'll just give it a minute for Sam to get these set up. It looks like they're all set, so you can go ahead and join those. All right. Hope those breakout rooms you're able to brainstorm a little bit, get some of those additional questions answered. Since it is nearing the top of the hour, we just want to thank you again for coming to this. Um, as we understand, like some of these topics are pretty difficult to talk about, especially as we're talking about the future of the organization. So we really do appreciate you taking the time. Um, on for students in the United States, we appreciate you taking the time on this holiday to be here for this call and really try to educate yourself on these amendments and give your input on them as well. Um, but we really are looking forward to seeing so many of you at International Convention. At House of Delegates, we'll have plenty of time to discuss these amendments a lot further. So very much looking forward to seeing so many of you in Denver in just a couple weeks. Kind of crazy that it's only a couple weeks away. But yeah, thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for participating, sending in questions, speaking. And I really look forward to seeing so many of you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your night.